Hello Peter, how are you today?
Okay.
Good. I'd like to talk a little bit about your third article, the Healing Handbook Part 3.
Okay.
So in that you talk about the planes of existence.
Yes.
Can you tell me, obviously the first one's a physical plane. Maybe a bit of a daft question, but how would you describe the physical plane?
This is it, all around you. Don't need to describe it.
Yeah. So basically, do you have cause and effect in this plane then?
Yes, it exists, but it's not always as people think it is. It's certainly not Newtonian motion. You know, this is what people used to believe in, which is so totally misproven. You know, they think everything's going to work by impact, everything knocking each other along like billiard balls. You know, cause possibly in the future, but it's not that way at all. Because it is all to do with energy. It's more governed by resonance than by impact.
All right.
You know, when two waves come together, they form a new wave between them that changes them both. Everything is about interacting energy.
Okay, so it's not just you do something and there's a result after it, it's actually the energy in that action that
yes, but
determines the
also I
result.
said it's like the causes in the past, it's not mechanical. Causes in the future. You've set up your future you want already and that's already changing you. There's a wave produced.
Okay.
It changes your resonance.
Okay, and that makes you act differently in the present.
Exactly.
Going on to the next plane of existence, the underworld. Can you describe a little bit about that, please?
Well, the underworld is actually the interface with the unconscious. I can't say it's the unconscious because if you're conscious of it, it's not unconscious. It's a place where we interface the unconscious and therefore can access a lot of the kind of deep forms, structures, laws and things that exist in the unconscious mind.
And is there anything that lives there? I mean, people still talk about going to the underworld and meeting this entity or whatever.
Yes, you see, the unconscious tends to personify everything. All your instincts and things act as different entities in the underworld.
Okay, so the things in the underworld are basically part of us.
Yes.
And it's like...
That's right.
Can you explain how that happens? How a part of us can become a being somewhere else?
It's the other way around. I mean, that is created before the physical world. This is the end result of many layers. From the source, it doesn't go straight to where we are. It goes through layers as it gets more complex, more earthed. And so the underworld is like the formative world, where things are kind of shaped before they become physical here. And so even explained how like our minds create our bodies. It's like they first create forms in the unconscious. The forms develop there.
But you said something about if you have a belief and you bury that belief, it then becomes an entity.
That way as well. You can go that way too. You can create new entities that way. But the first entities existed before the physical form, because I said that the primordial instincts, which were there first as part of our bodies. So our body's been shaped according to the kind of consciousness that's gone into it and what it's supposed to do. There's an intention there again. You know, the consciousness wants to do something, it needs to have certain abilities, and those abilities are first created as the entities of the underworld, which then form your physical body.
Right, that's interesting. And what about the upper world then? What's the upper world?
That's another layer beyond the formative, that's the causal plane, where all possibilities exist there.
So it's like your imagination?
It's not the imagination itself, but obviously everything is imagined. But every possibility exists there. You see, everything you imagine is already there. When you start working with that, you actually then bring certain possibilities down into existence.
So you're saying everything that can possibly exist is in the upper world?
Yes.
Does that mean it can exist because of our thought patterns at this present time? Does that change it, or is it just like absolutely everything?
No, it's there before we even think, you see. It's like even our thoughts are just considering possibilities.
Alright, so it's there and then we kind of tune into these things.
It's a place of possibility, basically.
Right. So then you might say, for instance, Keith Richards has said something once that the music's everywhere, coming out the walls and everything. It's just a case he's an antenna picking up.
That's right, he's picking up what's already there.
So an artist is really just tuning in to a higher vibration.
It's also about controlling it. You know, basically we go there so you can actually create things more efficiently. We all know that we can visualise and create things. If you go to the causal plane, which is where it all happens from, you can create far more efficiently.
Alright, so rather than just doing it haphazardly, you go there and you tune into it and you think about it and you send your intention there.
That's right.
And then that gives you more power to actually go and do it in this realm.
See, the possibilities exist there. Once you give them energy, they begin to descend down into the underworld and then the physical world.
Alright.
So you can actually see the possibilities there and decide which ones you're going to bring into creation.
Okay, so that makes, for any venture then, it's really quite important to go there and kind of connect with it.
Because you can actually make sure it happens.
Make sure it happens.
Yeah, it's like, you know, it's like there are possibilities there. You know, if you want to start a new venture, well, the possibility of a success is there. But if you bring that down into the earth, then it's going to be a success.
Is there anything that would stop you from doing that? You know, you could try your best to think of a particular success. You could put all the work in. Do you have anything in our body?
Creations.
Okay.
You see, if you create a failure before, every time you actually turn your mind to something new, the old creations reassert themselves.
Right.
So you have to break those down.
So that's part of the healing thing that we've been doing this week, is creating the space, basically.
Exactly, breaking down all the old creations that are causing problems.
Right, so that's why it's important if you have a new venture to kind of heal yourself first, I suppose.
Yes, clear the way, clear the problems out of the way.
What about the void, or you've got another name for it, the aksha?
Well, Akasha is a name for the fifth element,
Akasha.
which is basically like void. But another name I like to use is the Norse name Ginangagap, which means the magically charged void. It's more descriptive because, although it's empty, it isn't just nothing, it's potential. There's magic in that because it's like all potential exists there before anything's happened. So although it's void, it's all potential.
But I thought the upper world was possibility
That's
potential.
possibility.
What's the difference?
Well, see, the possibility is already forming.
Right.
See, the potential is potential for anything. There's nothing formed yet.
Okay.
In the causal plane, they're formed the different possibilities that could be.
In
the void, there's not yet any thought. There's potential to create anything, but there's no even idea yet of what you're going to create.
Okay, so this could be like, say, 200 years ago, the computer could be exist in the void, but
no,
not in
nothing exists in the void. Only potential. If it once it creates as an idea or possibility, it is in the upper world, in the causal plane.
Okay. Okay. So how do you work with the void then?
Basically, if you go there, it just means you get in touch with the pure potential.
And how can that change you, or how can you?
It means you're more able to then work with the other layers. Once you are aware of possibilities and can bring them into existence, the more potential you're in touch with, the more you can do. Okay. It's like a raw power. Okay.
And what about the plane of the gods? That's the next level up.
Yes.
What's there? Are these gods like Kali and Shiva you're talking about?
Yes, these are all emanations of the one. You know, there's one source which is undefinable. The time we've defined it, it's already moved from that oneness. It's all these different gods are the emanations of that oneness. Different ways in which it acts, and therefore taken symbolic forms.
So this is like different ways to get in contact with it? Different...
Yes, we need a focus if we're going into oneness with the source.
Yeah, so when we're talking about doing devotionals to Kali and stuff, that's actually an aspect of oneness.
Yes.
That's got particular characteristics.
That's right.
How did these characteristics get discovered, and who discovered these gods?
Well, they presented themselves to people. You see, a lot of these forms already exist in the higher worlds before you come down to this physical world, before you become human. So it isn't a case of like a human inventing them, it's like people who began to see these things because they existed. Okay.
So it's basically every time you meditate on a different god, you're bringing a different energy into you.
Yes, it's a different way of relating to the source. And to each person there's a way which works best.
Right. So you kind of find your own 2 or 3 gods to tune in with for your particular purpose.
Yes.
You talk about also in the next plane is the laws of the universe, and you've got 9 different laws. Can you briefly take us through them? Like for instance, the law of attention. How does that work?
Basically, what you're putting attention on is what's growing. You see, attention isn't energy. People talk about paying attention because it is costing energy. Whatever you put attention on, you are paying it energy to. Therefore, you're feeding that thing. So therefore, wherever your attention is going, that's what's growing in your life.
So basically, so how do we work? Do we work with that at all?
You simply be aware of where you're going to place your attention. Right. It's like if there's good things and bad things in your life, what you're going to give most attention to. Okay. A lot of people give too much attention to the problems, and those problems are always growing. So of course, you can't just ignore them. You actually have to actively disengage those problems, take your energy back from them. But you have to put the energy into the positive things you want.
But what about, can you put your energy into solving the problems?
You do, but not so much that you're feeding it all the time.
Not so much you're kind of worrying it and kind of just rambling on in your mind kind of thing.
Well, once you've got a solution, you put your energy into that. That's not
a positive thing.
Itself.
Yeah.
If you think of a solution but then keep thinking of the problem, you keep feeding that.
Okay. So that's why it's important to have positive thought patterns, positive attention to solve problems and then create a better future.
Yes.
In that attention you've got 4 components. Is this right? Self-reflection.
Yes.
It's got 4 components. Do you know what they are?
Yes. Attention is one, and it's intention, action and image.
And what's that process about?
Well, basically, if you want to actually look at what you're creating and change it, so these are the 4 things you've got to consider. First of all, what your attention is on, because that's what you're feeding. Secondly, look at your intention, why you're putting your energy into that thing. Because that isn't entirely unconscious as people think it is. There's a reason why you're focusing on that thing and making it grow.
So would that be like to gain more money, to gain more power?
Well, that would be a positive thing, but you see quite often there are manipulations going on and hidden agendas. As an example, supposing you're looking at a problem in your life and you wanted to get better, it might be a relationship, for instance. And if you keep focusing on the negative, that's what you're making it grow. And if you say you want to actually improve the relationship, well, the fact that you're putting your mind onto the negative is showing a hidden intention that maybe you want to destroy it.
Okay, yeah, so it's kind of...
So then you need to look at the hidden intention. So once you look at your intention, you then think about the intention, and that gives rise to an action and says something about your image.
So we could be doing, as you said, that the intention could be unconscious. Like, if you're having trouble with your wife, your partner, and you're picking faults with them all the time, your intention is to destroy that relationship.
Right.
But you think your intention is to sort her out, to make it better.
Yes.
And then, so that determines the action you take. And
exactly.
And how does that affect the image?
Well, it's showing the world who you are.
Okay.
So it's revealing the image.
Right. Okay.
For instance, you might look at why you're trying to join this relationship, and you might decide it's because you want to be alone because your image is a recluse. You know, it might be working relationship. Part of you wants to be alone because there's this image of recluse here, and it's making actions, into negative behaviour.
So really, you have to basically think about: do you want to spend your life alone because you're going to destroy this relationship pretty soon? You carry on that way.
Exactly.
Get what you want.
Yes, exactly. We do get what you want, but it's not always what you say you want.
Yeah. So I suppose meditating gets us more in contact with our true...
That's what this idea of self-reflection. You actually stop to look at your intention, your action and the image.
Right, okay.
Then you can actually see what you're creating and change the focus.
Okay, so it's good to be aware of these things, to meditate on them and look at them more deeply.
Exactly.
Because we're setting the intention in the meditation then
That's right.
to reveal it to us. What about the law of emotion, the next plane?
The emotion is an energy. The more emotion you have put in anything, the more energy is going into that. So all your different emotions have certain effects, on creation, and they're all designed to do something. So it's important then when you're also creating what you want to put emotion into it. The more you get fired up with enthusiasm, the love and the excitement and the pleasure, whatever, all those things are feeding that image, making it much stronger. If you do visualisation from that emotion, it's not really strong.
Alright.
If it's really emotional, and you actually go into what it feels like to have that success and really feel the emotion, then there's real power in it.
So you feel the outcome you want to have?
And you feel it emotionally too, yes.
And can you generate this emotion? It's not like faking it. Is it like fake it till you make it kind of thing?
If you want something, it's got to feel good when you've got it, doesn't it? Otherwise, why do you want to create it in the first place?
Okay, so it's
simply
not so much a forcing it, it's allowing it.
It's allowing yourself to actually really dream and get carried away in the emotion. Do all the things I told you not to as a child.
And get excited about it.
Exactly.
This is going to happen, and this is going to be good. What's about the law of giving and receiving? We touched on that the other day.
We did. I say it's like in order to give. Well, giving is what puts you in touch with the Creator. Now, you have to be able to receive as well, but it's not the same as taking. So when you open to receive, you welcome whatever comes. It's not like trying to manipulate somebody into giving something. Then that's taking, and that's very negative. Because it means you have no trust in the universe, and therefore you're going to. If you go back to this reflection, you'll see that then the image and the action of it all become negative, and you're creating negatively. When you really get in touch with what you want and open to the source, there's got to be a certain trust which makes you give all the time because there's limitless supply.
And the receiving is basically honouring the God as well.
Exactly. You realise there's an infinite source, so there's nothing wrong with giving or receiving.
So when somebody offers you a gift,
you don't have to feel guilty about receiving it because there's a limitless source. Therefore, you don't have to worry about giving away what you've got because there's a limitless source. Either way,
so what do you think about this one? This is a bit off the wall, but for instance, if a child is getting spoiled with a lot of presents all the time, and people always say, "Oh, that child's getting spoiled. Look how many things it's got. That's bad for it." It's not a treat in that case.
It's not giving it what it needs most.
All right.
It's like when you're giving, you have to consider, what you're giving, what's going to do the most good.
Right. So
sometimes
basically,
discipline can be a great gift too.
So just to give all the time is teaching the child, because I thought it could be like teaching the child there's abundance in the world.
There's that too, but also you give discipline. That's also a gift. You teach them, you give them knowledge, you give them awareness.
So what would you say?
You give them the tools they need to live in life later.
Would you say you have to do something to get this present? No.
No, see that's earning, which is not receiving. Some things they need to earn as well. They have to be able to receive as well as earn. They can be a bit of each. It doesn't have to be one or the other. So
what would be the discipline involved in giving?
Well, you get them to do certain things. You get them to be useful, basically. You realise that they've got to consider others. They can do their share of tidying up and whatever, and begin to work towards their own goals. That's an important lesson for them too. And
then do we say because you've done that, you get this?
That can be part of it because we all have to go through life learning to earn a living.
Okay.
But it's more than that. It's about being responsible for themselves. Realise if they've got a goal, they've got to work on it.
So basically,
they can work towards creating what they want.
And if they make a mess, they have to tidy it up.
Yes.
And just basically being a good parent, really.
Exactly.
And using your
Just
own...
realising you're here to teach them. You know, you need to give them the tools they need to get on with life.
Yeah. So
and that itself is a great gift too.
what about just right, the law of shadow? Shadow, yeah. My writing's terrible.
Well, basically, what that means is that anything you deny will come at you from the outside. So your shadow is there to actually keep bringing you all the things you're missing. You sort of deny something about yourself, and the shadow brings it to you. It's almost like you drop some piece of rubbish, somebody picks up to see you drop something. Yeah. And it's like it's always there, you can't get away from it.
But it also suppresses things that are good for you as well, is that right? Is it always bad things?
It's not bad or good. Whatever you deny comes at you from the outside. If you deny your creativity, you find yourself surrounded by creative people. Yeah. You deny your anger, you get surrounded by angry people.
So basically, be more observant to patterns in your life.
Exactly, it's what is around you is usually what you're denying within yourself.
What about the law of resonance?
That goes on to what I was saying about the world not being all to do with impact and linear. It's about understanding how waves interact with each other, energies affect each other. All the energies you're letting in are changing you and you're changing them. And so we create a whole reality through resonance rather than impact. We don't force things to happen. As you change your nature, it changes the world around you. So,
to go and do anything, for instance, a comedian could have a brilliant comedy script, but if he goes in there with a certain negative, or whatever you want to call it, attitude, I'm better than you, I'm the greatest, laugh at my jokes, that will not have the same impact as somebody who goes in there with a sharing, giving
heart.
Well,
the person basically has to be funny. You know, that's the resonance they're holding before they even do anything.
Explain that again?
Well, basically, some people are funny before they even do anything. That's the resonance they're holding.
Okay.
That's the resonance. It's not doing anything yet.
Okay.
And therefore, when they start making jokes, it still flows. And so it's like you have to be.
You have to become the thing.
Yeah, you have to be in that energy. You have to hold that resonance.
All right. And can you expand on that yourself? Do you know what I mean? If you're funny, can you make yourself more?
You can. You can receive it. These are all energies. Remember, all potential, all possibilities exist in higher planes.
Right.
You go to the causal plane, you can actually absorb more of the essence of funniness if you want to.
Okay.
You can go and seek it out there.
So it's opening yourself up all the time to your core.
Letting more and more of it in.
What's the law of detachment? It
means that you don't make anything real. It doesn't mean you don't have them. See, this is where people make a mistake when they say you don't have money and songs because it's materialistic. Well, actually, if you think your spirituality depends on not having it, that makes it very real. If you're detached, it means it doesn't make any difference to your spirituality. If your spirituality is what's most real, and the things you have around you are less real, they don't really matter. And if they're illusion, you can always redream them. What you make real is things harder to change.
Okay.
Therefore, to be able to create the realities you wanted, you've got to have a certain sense of it not being real.
So that when you get it, you don't become too attached to it.
You can enjoy it, but you don't think it's real.
Okay. So you just take it as part of the illusion, and
exactly. And, you can enjoy the illusion.
You know you can dream something else the next day and kind of carry on the unfolding.
So you're going to realise what's most important then is your creative potential. Because that can create anything. The things are just, just little games.
It can be difficult to keep that going in very difficult times, like a serious accident or cancer or something like that.
Well, that's where responsibility comes in. To be able to say, I've created this, and I can change it.
What's the law of purpose?
Well, you need a purpose to see you through life. When you've got a purpose, that gives you direction, so it gives you motivation, so it gives you the energy you need to go forward. Everything, because everything has its course in the future, purpose is what gives you all your meaning, your direction in life.
But in this world we live in, there's very little people have a true purpose.
Because they've all got one, but they've forgotten it.
Okay.
All came here for a reason.
So basically, if everyone found a true purpose, the world would dramatically change, but it would still keep a natural order kind of thing.
Yes.
And things would work.
Things work
in harmony
very complex
better.
Way. Yes, it's harmonious but complex. It's not fitting in like a cog in the wheel. It's everybody finding their potential and then seeing where it fits with everything else.
And using that for everyone's benefit.
Yes.
At the same time.
Everything benefits, and it's very complex.
Now, I like this one. What's the law of least effort? It sounds good.
It means you follow your intrinsic nature. It's like water doesn't have to try and flow it, that's what it does. It gets from A to B in the quickest possible way. If it's downhill, it just does it. It doesn't make any effort. Yeah. And so when you follow your intrinsic nature and do what comes naturally, everything should work.
But there's certain things, if you want to achieve, you have to work hard to get them. Well, that's the theory, you know what I mean?
That's the theory, yes. It requires a certain amount of effort, but it doesn't have to be hard.
So it's like, for instance, I'm quite enjoying, first of all, thanks for your course, I'm enjoying it immensely, and I'm now interested in reading your books and doing this kind of stuff because I've got a natural interest in that. the study part is not going to be work, it's going to be
exactly
a growth.
You do what comes naturally to you, and you have no success.
So you just follow your joy.
Yes. So what it means is that, you know, if you first decide your purpose and where your potential lies and get on with that, you let the kind of practical details take care of themselves. You know, rather than actually think, how am I going to make money, you think, well, what do I really want to do? And that will make you all the money you need.
But again, in this world, people have got mortgages and stuff like this. How do we get from this point to the point where they're free to be able to go and do this, and how do they know it's, well, obviously you manifest the money at the end of it, but it's a bit of a jump, you know?
They have to recognise where they're at and how they got there. They're in slavery because they didn't think for themselves. They believed all the lies which told them that you have to struggle. And it's sort of actually recognising the manipulation that's going on there, because somebody else is making all the money out of their work.
Okay. What's the law of compassion?
Well, the nature of the Creator is compassionate. Therefore you cannot be in that sense of oneness without having compassion.
So basically, I get frustrated, for instance, when I've been to Kenya with my family and seen the poverty there and the beautiful people. They've got no real chance. Have they got as much a chance of creating the reality?
They do create the reality.
Yeah.
They haven't got the same potential we have. There's a whole different set to work within, but they still create their own reality. They can change things.
Yeah, so it just takes a great amount of will. And
But again, it's about looking at their individual kind of choices and why they're there and what they want to create. They might not want to be in an individualistic life with loads of money and jobs and things. You know. They might want a simple kind of tribal life, but they should have enough to eat. If they remember the magic, they can grow everything as they want it.
Right, okay.
But quite often that magic's been taken away when the people came and trampled all over them.
So what I was saying is, when I was in Kenya and then come back here and the same family have seen that kind of thing, then I don't know, they say this is bad in their life, you know. When we've got so much more in the West, it seems. And then I keep thinking, well, why don't you look at the people in Africa that you've seen with your own eyes and realise, I suppose that's gratitude, is it? To realise how lucky they are to be here instead of complaining about everything.
Yes, well, gratitude isn't the same as complacency. You know, it's like what people often say is like, no, you've got more than somebody else, therefore don't ask for more. No, that's complacency.
Right.
Gratitude, you can still enjoy more and more abundance, and be grateful for it all. However, there's compassion, you'll help other people as well.
Okay. Does that mean giving to charity and stuff like that?
Or finding the way which works for you, whatever, or where you can do the most good. Charity isn't always the way, because it's another company making loads of money and not giving much to actual people who need it. Yeah.
So it's important to try and find space for compassion in your life and actively do that, because that helps your soul then.
Well, yes, it helps your whole growth. It's like there has to be compassion, then you need to have the chemistry of change to actually reach the ecstatic states of enlightenment.
Well, last night there was a girl, she was telling us some stuff about her life and she started crying, and just to offer an arm round her was really good. I mean, she felt consoled, but I felt really good for giving her the, you know, of course,
because you're exercising compassion, you're doing some good.
And you've got another one at the end here that I don't think you say is a particular law of the universe, but you've got a name for it. It's a law of magic. What's that?
Well, whatever else is there, magic can override anything. Now, people try and confine magic's laws, but it's not the case. Right. Magic is recognising that with the Creator, all these laws are a creation too. You can go beyond that. Magic itself can create anything. It therefore can change any law.
So do you mean magic by sitting down doing a ritual and an offering?
That's the way you kind of direct it, yes. Can
you invent your own magic, or is there particular ones you have to follow?
Well, you need to understand its rules first before you're inventing it, because you need to know how it works. Right. But in the end, beyond the actual rituals, there's that point of simple choice, where you know, when you're in that space of oneness, that you have absolute power to change your destiny, and then choice is enough to do anything. Okay. And you can know then that choice is beyond all the other laws. It'll override everything else and make changes that you want. It doesn't matter what's happening, the magic can change anything. It'll override all the other limitations, all the other laws that are there.
So it's a bit like poetry, you have to learn the structure before you can break it.
Yep, then you become free. Same with anything, with writing you might learn straight letters at first, then you become really free and it's kind of more fluid.
So the next law of the universe is the preconceptual.
Yeah.
What's that?
Well, that's not a law, that's a space in a way.
A plane of existence, sorry, I meant plane of existence.
We call it preconceptual because you can't conceive of anything there yet. It's before anything's conceived.
Okay, so that's even... So the void is potential. How does that differ from...
Even potential is something that you can define.
Right.
It's conceived.
And then the last one's just the law of... plane of existence is the oneness.
Yeah.
And that's just the source.
So you're back to oneness, pure awareness, and there's nothing else.
And that's where we're all going, do you think? we've all split from
that's
that.
all
We'll
within
go back
us.
to that.
We come away from it for a reason. It's like when you're just one, there's nothing to do. That pure awareness then creates a universe so we can explore it. It's all a game. So we don't just sort of forget all this and go back into oneness. The idea is that we keep that oneness while existing as individuals.
Okay, so that's what I mean by eternity. We're here to play forever and ever and ever. It's never going to end.
You create anything you want and keep enjoying it.
Are we supposed to have finite lives, because like Bill Hicks done a joke where he says childbirth isn't natural. We're supposed to be like in a garden naming animals and
like a Garden of Eden, you mean?
Yeah, well, that was his.
We stepped out of that for a reason.
What's your explanation of the creation myth? Do you know that Adam and Eve story?
Yeah.
Do you have
I said we stepped out of that garden for a reason. We wanted to grow up. We don't want to be in our parents' swing being safe. We want to actually go and explore for ourselves and learn and grow. Gain responsibility.
So that's why we took the apples, like knowledge, and then it became responsibility with the knowledge.
And you have to leave your garden where you're under your parents' swing and you actually go out and find out how to create your own life.
Some people say that this 2012 thing that's coming up is like humanity leaving the mother's womb kind of thing.
It can be many things, and this is where it's important to actually gain responsibility so you know the choices you're going to make. You have to decide where the world is going to go for yourself at that point.
Right.
Because you're creating it. And if you simply buy into other people's patterns, help them create it, you're still responsible for that.
So getting in touch with the magical realms and the nature of the laws of the universe can help us in that form our destiny then.
Yes.
You talk about myths in the article as well. You talk about the myth of entropy. How does that affect us?
Well, I call it the myth of entropy because scientifically I call it entropy, which is simply this idea that everything is heading towards disorder, that you leave things to themselves to become more and more disorderly.
Like the universe is expanding?
Yeah, but it also means getting more disorderly, anything will decay back into chaos.
Is this where we get the idea of Armageddon?
It's the same thing. Religion's still saying the same thing. In the end it's all going to be destroyed, so there's not much hope, is there? In the end everything's going to be destroyed. Well, this is only one action that's in the universe. Evolution is different because consciousness organises things. You put people together and they organise something. Consciousness is everywhere and that organises things. So you've got this one energy bringing things to disorder and another one organising, and you have choice what you're going to go for. If you're stuck in the entropy because you think that's all there is and that's how the universe works, then your body's aging and decaying all the time. You're heading for disorder and gradually losing your control of your mind and going mad, becoming senile and so on. If you can actually step out of that and become more and more evolved all the time because your consciousness is always organising, therefore it'll regenerate the body too.
What about the myth of being inherently flawed?
Yeah, and this is where, very much within religion, this whole idea of original sin, for instance, because of what Adam and Eve did, we're all sinful, therefore we're flawed, and so we can't be perfect. Again, this is a myth which holds people in shame.
So there's different definitions of perfect. There's like judgmental.
Well, really, perfection shouldn't be an issue at all. We're not here to be perfect. We're here to learn to have fun. Remember, perfection is something you create to hide your shame. People always have this standard. Well, maybe when I'm perfect, then I'll be good enough. But actually, you are good enough. Just because you made a mistake does not mean you're not good enough. That's the shame. That's a bit which keeps saying you're flawed. There's something wrong with you. Yeah,
I could never understand this original sin pattern.
It's like there isn't an original sin. Once people believe that they're flawed right from the root of the being, they can't do anything about it. They're stuck in shame.
And this Jesus died for your sins as well. It seems incredible.
Pure manipulation. I can't imagine any master would manipulate people like that.
Yeah. What about the myth of eternal punishment? That's basically Christian again, is it?
Yeah, it's coming from this, not just Christian, many religions have those ideas of hells.
Right.
Like in Buddhism, there's many different hells, for instance. So this concept of hell is quite old. But if you have this idea that once you're punished, you're going to be there forever, well, that doesn't help you change, does it? People's biggest fear when they're stuck in their patterns is that it's going to be forever. They're going to suffer forever, they're going to be stagnant forever, nothing's going to change.
Yeah.
And it's those myths at the root of that. That's why it's not always enough to work with your personal beliefs.
Right.
These are often held in place at the mythical level.
So we have to understand where we get these beliefs from.
Yeah, we need to release it from the mythical part of our minds.
How society kind of holds these. So we need to let go of these myths, basically. As a society, culture.
Unconscious, basically.
And what about God's whim and fate? Is that another?
Yes.
Just every people say, what's meant for you, I'll not go by you.
Exactly.
Is that a load of bollocks?
Same thing. People are saying, well, I couldn't do this because it's my fate, it's God's will. Well, no, you are God. It's your will.
Yeah.
Therefore you can change it.
And the myth of losing the goddess, what do you mean by that?
Well, basically, when we first separate from the source, in order to find out who we are as individuals, we turned our back on the Creator. Therefore, we feel we've lost her. So we pretend she's turned her back on us, so we get all angry and everything. And actually, that's just part of our game to separate ourselves further, to become more individualised. If we recognise, no, God is there for us all the time, we've chosen to turn our backs, so we can come back.
So do you think people are kind of, I wouldn't say broken, but they're missing this connection, and it's a big part of what's wrong with society. People don't feel, they feel like an isolated being, you know, like with consciousness isn't shared between anybody. It's just they don't see themselves as part of nature or anything.
Separated.
Separated, yeah.
In that separation, they're not really happy.
Yeah. So they're longing for the connection to the goddess, really.
And quite often I hide it amongst all the kind of control and fear, so they don't actually even go for it anymore.
Couple of ones to finish. How do other people's wills influence us? Like, for instance, doctors, you know, giving you their opinion on your...
It's up to you if you want to believe it.
Yeah, so we get, all through our lives, our parents dramatically, you know, it must affect our lives and how they try and imprint on us.
But we've got to remember we have choice. There's a mine of information out there, and why should you take anything as true without questioning?
So when you surf the internet, you just take the information and say this could be right, this could be wrong.
You can try it out, see if it works for you.
And also I'd like to talk a little bit about cancer cures. Has there been any cancer cures that you know of that have been suppressed?
34 so far that I know of. 34? Yes, all natural.
How, can you tell me about one or two of them?
Okay, well when I was actually in the Amazon jungle, there was a medical team out researching this plant called Babiola, because the native Indians, they used it to cure cancer all the time, and there was no side effects, didn't have the problems of chemotherapy, and it was totally effective and safe. Yeah? Now, they didn't let anybody know about it, because what they wanted to do was actually find the active ingredient, so they could actually synthesise it and patent it and make a load of money out of it. They didn't succeed, so they simply buried the tracks and made nobody could find it. You see, they don't want there to be a natural cancer cure, because they can't make money, they can't patent a natural product. So the cancer business is basically a business? Of course, all the pharmaceutical company is. If they're to make money. It's billions of pounds. Can you talk a little bit about your experience with treating people with cancer and what happened after you advertised on your website? Well, one thing, I never advertised cancer cures because that's illegal in the 1999 Cancer Act. Basically clearly states that you cannot enter any adverts that you can cure cancer. They can cure cancer, exactly. Now, I never advertised it. But obviously I've treated people. People come, I'm not actually offering a cancer cure, but I'm giving treatment holistically. And people have become cancer. Once I got into the news, because one of my cancer patients showed she was actually getting better, I had endless persecution from the doctors and from the trading standards to make me take all the information off my website about it, you know, even though I wasn't doing anything wrong in the first place. What information was on your website? I simply wrote an article about the kind of things you find in dealing with cancer, the kind of emotional patterns you're dealing with and all that. Okay, so because you're doing holistic healing, you were seeing these patterns coming up. Exactly. And you wrote about the patterns. Yeah, so anybody who has a cancer or is dealing with cancer can actually get some ideas of what they might have to deal with. So not necessarily to come to you, but just... It was just pure information. It wasn't adverts, and it wasn't even saying it was a cancer cure. And you were told to take that off? Yep. Threats all the way around. Yeah. And must make you sick to the stomach, basically. Well, where I began to wake up to just how corrupt the system was. Because when you research further, you realise, yes, the kind of corruption that's gone into the medical profession is pretty intense. I mean, the whole thing is based on coming from the Rockefellers, who were funding IG Farben, the company that was producing the Zyklon B gas to kill all the Jews. It relates to the same people from IG Farben, who now what they call the Codex Alimentarius, and behind all the major drug companies of Germany. These are the ones who are controlling our medicine and our food. That's incredible. Exactly. So basically, it's as if we never won the war. Well, yes, it's an illusion. They've won because people believed that they've won. And now they've still got the upper hand there because they're carrying on their plan to control everything by poisoning everybody, basically. And of course, the people like the Rockefellers fund all the corrupt things that make them money. And so there's huge money going behind this whole illusion. Yep. Which we could get into a whole 10-hour discussion about that, but we'll leave that interview just now. Can I just say before I go that I've really enjoyed the 2-week course I've done with you. I feel as though I've changed dramatically. I would recommend it to anybody. And thanks very much for giving us your time for the interviews. Thank you. And wish you well in the future. And you. Thanks.